Hi folks, it's Russ here again having some more Daisy lever gun fun. And what I want to show you today is a project that I've started and it's kind of in progress. I want to talk about the two guns that I have laying in front of me on the bench. They're both the 1938B model of the Red Ryder, and I've done some extensive teardown on these, not just pulling out the plunger and so forth, but I took the shot tubes out and I took that fake magazine off the bottom, and I'll explain later why I'm going to such an extent. These guns are the ones I like to call the interim gun, or the less than modern, safety featured gun, because although they do have the modern self-contained trigger assemblies like this, these trigger assemblies do not have the most current rendition, the ones with the anti-bear trap on them. If they did, this little gizmo here would be mounted up here. There would be a spring attached to a catch on the side. There would be a stop up here, and as you cock the gun, of course, it would click its way up the ratchet of the anti-bear trap. Whenever you pull the trigger, then it would allow this to drop, allow the sear to open, and it would shoot off. But since it doesn't have this, both of these guns are made with the same specifications. There are differences though. If you look at this, these are the shot tubes that came out of the gun. One of them has the white plastic, one has kind of a yellowed looking plastic on them. This one has a single magnet to catch the BB when it feeds down inside. And there's a stamping here, it looks like from a manufacturer. This one has two magnets, one on either side of the shot tube, so that whenever the BB feeds in, it gets caught down in there. And there is no marking on the housing of this one. So although these two will fit either one of those receivers, there are differences in the way they were produced. Now these are the same length because they both have to fit the common receiver. Another difference in these guns that I noticed is in the roll stamp. The roll stamp on one of these is a little clearer, a little more crisp than on the other. And that tells me that they came out of two different machinings. Another thing you can notice is on the rear sight. And it may be hard to pick up on the camera here, but the distance from here to the fold is longer on this gun than it is on the other. I don't know if you can see what I mean by that. Plus, one of these has a slightly different oval shape and point. Also, the way they're put together is the weld marks on this are more defined. These spot welds are lighter and tighter. Now, they both have the same markings as far as their patent number, but the lot numbers have different configurations to them. Yes, the numbers are different. That's expected. But even though the patent numbers are the same, the lot numbers are totally different. On one of these guns, it's very evident about the warning that's on here and about how to load and shoot. The other one seems to have that missing. And as you look up to the loading gate area, again, one of the guns has a more crisp, better defined roll stamping on it, even though they say the same thing and have the same little picture on there. Now, somebody had taken one of these, this gun here, and it looks like they tried to do some refinishing. Maybe ground off some of the existing rust, but didn't feather out the paint that was left to the bare steel. That's not a bad job, but all in all, the gun could use a little redoing. One of the reasons that I started tearing things apart on it. If you'll notice, another thing I did was where the rivet went through on both guns to hold the retainer for the spring, I took that out, and I'll explain in a minute. When we get to the insides, these guns have that very strong 29 coil mainspring. And I think I'm going to change those. I happen to have some remanufactured 22 coil springs. Now, that doesn't mean they're weak. They're just not as, let's say, mean when it comes to trying to cock the gun. And it'll still have enough power for plinking. But the reason we're going to put those springs on is because these two guns, because they're very, very similar, are going to become one of my double barrel creations. Typically, I'll use a Model 105, the little buck gun, for the double barrel and a lot of other projects that I do. But since these guns both needed some work done to them, I thought I could put the work into them and still have just a nice looking Red Ryder, or I could get a little creative. They're newer guns, they're not big collector's items, and the work they needed kind of lent itself to getting them put into a project rather than just putting them back together. So we are in progress, and I will show you this whenever I get them done. We have some other variations from other double barrels that I have made. I'd like to show you an example of one of those other ones, but well, as of right now, I don't have any left. And the last one I had, there's another fellow who I hope is the proud and new owner of that particular gun. There it is, folks. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell your friends to tune into the channel, and I'd love hearing from you. Until next time, take care.